Okay, cool. So I believe we can see my screen now. So good afternoon once again. You're welcome to today's session of the backend development PHP Laravel. Yeah, for some reason I don't know what is wrong with my camera. It's not coming on. So please, you will permit me to drop off and quickly come back. Close this. So, hello everyone. I believe you can hear and see me now. Can't share your screen.
Apologies for the delay. What's it called? Adebayo is trying to sort out his internet, please. Sorry, he will soon join back. Can anyone hear me?
All right, sir. I can hear you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I'm really so sorry, guys. I had an issue with my system. It wasn't allowing me to just to share my screen. But I believe we can all hear me, just to be sure that the sound is okay. Now I'm going to try to share my screen. Okay, thank you. Okay, cool. I think we are good now. So I apologize for that delay. So quickly we'll into this session. Today we'll be looking at handling form messages, form validation, and error handling. Okay, and then if we have more time, we will look into handling authentication, then using Laravel Breeze, doing it in the native way, right? So I know that we did some things last week where we used CRUD, that is create, retrieve, update, and delete. So we already have an idea of how that works. So we'll be creating a kind of login page today, the login screen, where you can input your username, email, then enter your password. You should be able to log in basically. And if there's an error in that process from wherever you the user out somehow, then we'll show you how to display that to the client, which is to the front end. Yeah, so without wasting time, let's get to work. So I'm going to be opening this. I already installed a fresh Laravel application. We can do that again. Let me see. Yes, we can do that again if you want. So if you have not installed it, please use this command to install a fresh Laravel application. See, yeah. So this will be the name of your application, the name of your app, right? So whatever you want to call it, you can change it from my app to any other thing. So you create that, and then you CD into your application. Okay. So yeah, so I was in here. So when I created it, then I now have this name application right here. So if I say CD into my application, then I can open it. So whichever way you are using, whether you are doing it this way or you are opening it directly in VS Code, whichever one is fine. All we want to achieve is to have our application open in VS Code, which is our ID. Okay, text editor. So now we have a fresh Laravel application. So I know that we have talked about how to handle database when you create a fresh application like this. Okay, you should be able to connect your application to the database. And how do you do that? You do that is you come to the env and you specify the database configuration. Okay, so right here we are using SQLite, right? But we want to use MySQL. Okay, so we are going to comment this out and then use what we have here. So I will go to my database, which I've already created. I think I told us how to do that the last time. You should have either MySQL Workbench, MySQL already installed on the laptop, and you can create a session right there and you put the connection, or you use XAMPP. If you use XAMPP, you can use the PHP Laravel to create your database and monitor it there. Okay, so I'm going to be using XAMPP. If you're using XAMPP, you open it. Let me see. PHP Laravel. So let's just see. Right, so here I'm going to create my database. I'm going to say my database is Techhaven. This time it's going to be Techhaven underscore my app. Okay. Go down here, change Unicode to this, then I create it. Right now I have my database set up. So I will use the connection credentials for this my app. So by default, I have not set any password or login credentials for this MySQL. So I'm going to come here and just make sure that, yeah, this should be the default host that you use, since the application is running, the database is running on my laptop. So I will use the local host IP. This is the default port for MySQL. Then the name of the database now. You notice that I use Techhaven underscore. What did I use? My app, right? My app. Now the default username there. So, okay, if someone asking a question, someone hands up. Hand is up, you can speak. All right. So, and then there's no password. So I'm going to leave it like this, right? Now we have been able to successfully connect our MySQL or MySQL to the application, right? So now let's check our ENV. Okay, this is still our ENV, and then you can see that the app key is there, right? So now let's check our migration data. We want to make sure that we have the right, all the required tables that we need. So by default, when you create a Laravel application, you have your migration, you have some default migration files that are created for you. Okay, and these are the users table, the catch table, the jobs table. So, you know, and then you can have more than here. You can see that in the users table, tables that are related to the users, are created to the users authentication, are created there. So this is going to be the users table. In one single file, you have the users table, you have the password reset token table, you have the sessions table. Okay, so this is going to create table. If I run it now, this single file is going to create 3 different tables for me. Okay, and then we have this, and we have this job as well. So inside the jobs, we have job batches, we have field jobs. So these are 3 tables. In the catch, we have the catch table, we have the catch logs table. Okay. What we want to focus on majorly, because these are the things we need. We need the users table. The user table is going to save the user credentials so that when the user attempts to sign in, we check from that database, from that table, and see if the user exists there, and then check against the password that we input. If the user exists, then it's created. Okay, that's the mode of operation for authentication in Laravel. All right, so what are we going to do now? We want to make sure that these tables are created in the database. And what database are we using? Don't forget this one. And at the moment, there is no table inside it. And you see, no tables found in this database. Now, if I say PHP migrate. So what does this do? This runs, don't forget, I'm just recapping. This runs those files and then attempts to create the data, the database table structure. that we have defined in that table, right? So please just excuse me. Okay, yeah, so that is what this does. So if I run this down, I wasn't saying could not open. Oh, okay, sorry. I think there's an error here. If you understand my grade. So it's asking that would you like to create this SQLite database configured? That does not exist. Oh no, we are not using SQLite again. So I thought we changed it. Let me see. Yeah, we changed it. So let me try to catch and say PHP some optimize. Yeah. Let me do this. Clearing cache, extra files, database file does not exist and show the other part. Oh, he's still complaining about this. Okay. Okay, yeah. I know where the problem is. This is supposed to be my SQL. We didn't specify the database connection we're supposed to be using, okay? So we just commented that out instead of specifying that we want to use MySQL. And I told you where you find this in config, in the database config. I told you if you go to your config, that's where you find it. Please don't be confused. Sometimes you can have this oversight when you won't remember that you've not done something. When you come to your database right here, you should see all your database connections. So the SQLite I was attempting to use before, this is the connection. The MySQL, I just changed it to now, this is the connection, okay? You can see that it's using the variables that we have in there, right? So no confusion. We are just going to run it again now, and then see what happens. Can you see? So now if we check our database, you see that all the tables have been created. So our focus is on the users table, right? At the moment, we've got nothing in it, okay? So now we are going to attempt to try to create a form, and then we create a route, that takes us to that form like that. So let's see. If you can still remember how we created route the last time, we went to route and then we went to web. Okay, so we have this there by default. So if we do PHP and serve, then we visit this page. So this gives us this gives us this default Laravel page, okay? And we said that we can remove it. We don't have to use it, okay? So if we are creating another route now, we are saying, let's create that version. We are saying route, okay? We are saying get, right? And then we are saying, in this case, we are passing login, okay? And instead of putting our function in there, we are going to introduce a controller. But because there's no controller right now, just say we'll click create a controller now. So no worries. And then we make sure that. So if we say return hello user, then we come here to visit it, login. Can you see? So now let's create a controller. Okay, so open a new tab, and that will say PHP artisan make controller. So in this case, I would love to create a model as well. But since the controller I want to create is user controller, that will allow us to undo authentication. No, let me let's use auth controller, or let's call it login controller. Okay, let's call it login controller. So we're going to say, let's check whether we have any controller at the moment. So, okay, we don't have any controller at the moment. So we are going to say, so I would have created the model that we are going to use, but you know, when you create your Laravel application, you have a model created for you by default, which will be the user model. So if you go inside models, you will see the user model is there, right? It's just automatically generated for you. Okay. So, and I believe that you did some things about model in previous classes that we held. So we are now going to create a login model. So we'll say make controller, right? And then we'll say login controller, because we want to use that to handle our authentication process. Okay, login controller. Okay, so now we'll have this in here. So we are going to import this guy here. We'll use it here, and then it will automatically be available. So if I remove this, all this now, remove all this. I know you are already used to this, just to refresh our memory. So class, and then you put a space, and then put the name of the method you want to call right there. So because we don't have any method in here, we are going to use the let's use the index. Let's just use the index. Index. So call it index, and then we come here. So if we say return hello Adebayo, and then come here to say index. Okay. So if we refresh this now, you see it is sending the request into the controller, right? So now we want to create a form. So let's just go there and manually add a form, a blade template. Don't forget that I said Laravel uses blade as its templating engine. Okay, so which means that your front end code, HTML, whatever, can reside inside your blade template, and that blade template also has the capacity, the ability to handle your PHP for you using some specific directives and all that. So we will see how that works. So if I come here and I come into the view, I can create a new file right here, and then I say login. It will be a good practice to make sure that whatever module you are creating right now, it seems like we are creating the login module. Let's say the authentication module, but in this case, the name of the controller is login. So we want to make sure that we are calling the name of our file login, not for any particular reason. It's just for us to be able to trace it and easily debug when necessary, so that you don't start looking for, you are saying login controller, but you are struggling to know what the name of the file is. So just use something that is easily traceable for you. So when you click here, okay, then you can now put your stuff in here, right? So we can have, we can bring this into another, we can have the layout structure, but I don't want to confuse us on that. Let's still stick to this. If we have time, I'll quickly show us how we can structure our directories here, where we have the layout. You know, it contains all the HTML, whatever, and then we can now have other sections of blade files that we can import into the main application layout. But don't worry about that for now. Let me do what I wanted to do, which will be so let's say HTML5. Let's say HTML5. So it will suggest also you click it and it gives you this. Okay. So now if we, let me just try to, so I don't want to spend so much time. I will release an article for us. I'll release an article for us to be able to work with, so that we can refer to it anytime, any day we have any issue. So I'm going to be using this. Okay. Let me bring this in. So if I come here now, and then within the body, I put H2, and then I put login. Okay, and right here, I paste this. Okay, or maybe I want to say div, and then I now want to paste this guy inside. All right. So this is a form. You are familiar with HTML, and then we have, forget about this for now. So we have our label showing the name. We have the inputs, and then we are saying it's required. I know you're already familiar with this because I know you did that in the last class. Right, and we have the password. That's it. So this CSRF, I know it was also mentioned in the last class, but also refresh our memory, is put there to handle CSRF attack. That is cross-site resource forgery or something like that. So it's used to handle, there is a way attackers can access your page, and then they will be able to control some few things about your application. If you don't make that page, every page is going to be unique. Every form is going to be unique, so that they don't tamper with what you are sending to the backend. Okay? So this is going to generate a token that will make that page unique. Okay, so you must always include it in every form that you create. All right, that is that. Just put this there. Then let's save it. And now let's go to our controller and let's try to view it. Okay, so to view it, we just, what do? We'll reference. We already know that view is going to is mapped directly to this view directly right here. So we just take it down to the directory of the file we want to call. Okay, so at the moment, this is a direct child in the direct child file in the views directory. So we just say login. Okay, so we just say login. So if we come here now, and then we refresh, we should see our form. Fantastic, isn't it? So yeah, we have our form. Okay, so now users can enter, input their username and their password, and then they will log in. Okay, so this is not going to go anywhere, and that's why it's showing that error, because we've not properly handled the process of logging in or authentication. Right. So no worries about that. That's what we're going to start doing now. Now let's do the validation of error. How do we handle this form inputs? How do we handle, before we go to handling errors, how do we handle this form inputs? Okay, so if we come here into our file, into our blade file, we can see the action. What are we telling Laravel by adding this? We're telling it something that sends this form to this route. So this route must exist. Okay, this route must exist. But in our case, we are not going to be using this. We're not going to be doing it this way. All right. We are going to be using a method in PHP. And to write any PHP code, I already mentioned that you have to wrap it inside something like this. Okay. Have to wrap it inside something like this to echo anything. And so this basically means echo, but don't use the term echo. Don't use it. So we are going to say route. Do we have that route? I don't think so, but let's define it. We are going to say route to login. right? This login exists. Sorry, let me just. This login exists here in our route file. It exists here. Okay, even though we didn't give it a name. All right, but it is a GET request. This is the one that previews the form for us. But you can see that the method is a POST request, not a GET request. And what we only have is a GET request. Please don't get confused. GET request is a different separate method, right? It gets sends data over the HTTP using the HTTP query params. So every data that is sending along with that request will be appended to the URL as URI query params, right? That is GET. But we are going to be using POST. POST is the ideal HTTP verb method to send your form to Laravel. Okay, so you don't have to put this. You don't have to put it if you don't want to. But just make sure you keep your code consistent. If you're not using it, remove it, or don't use it somewhere and don't not use it. The code will just be different all over the place, right? So what we are going to be doing now is specify our login controller, okay, as a class, and then we specify the method we want to use to handle that login process. Okay, in this case, let's call it store. Let's call it store. Okay, we are calling it store. Okay, let's call it store. If you want to register or probably do some insertion, you can use store. You can use anything actually. It's just what's common in the common practice. When you see store, you know that you want to store some details from the data that is being passed in the content. So in our case, since we want to log in, let's call it login. We are not storing. We want to log in. So let's call our method login. This method does not exist, so we have to go into the controller to do what? To create it. So we have our login method. Okay. So on this, let's say you just simply return the form back. So what I will do is I will say return. Now let me include, before I return anything, let me include my test here, my request. We want to be able to capture the request. And to capture the request, we would have to pass a method. We have to inject a method into this method, into this class. Okay. So we have not done that yet. So if I do view, return view, login, you will see that it will only return the same thing anytime we click. So I want us to try that first. If I come here now and then I refresh and let me go there. You see my, just to be sure that we are. So I specify this, okay, and I in the route, okay, let me name it. So I'm going to say name, and I'm going to say login.post. Post like login. Yes, let me do that. Post like login. Let's say this one, I'm naming it as get.login. Okay, so this is the name now. So instead of using this all the time, I'll just be using this name. Okay, so this will be what I'm expecting. This is what I'm expecting to use now. Yes, excuse me, sorry. See you guys. So, all right, yeah. So if I this means that if I send this, let's say I put can you see that it's routing to the same page for me? And that is because I haven't asked it to do anything specifically. I just asked it to return that same blade view. Okay, so to catch that stuff, you're already familiar with this, just etc. So that this will easily transition your level right now, your level of knowledge into the new thing that we are building. So we'll say request. We'll say request, and so what we are importing will be this guy right here. Minute HTTP request. So we include this, and then we say request. Okay. So if I instead of returning this, I can just say return this, let's say all. Okay. So if I say return this all, so I now come here. Let me say, just start some bridge there. And I log in. Do you see what is happening? What I told Laravel is when they send a request to you, I told this method that when they send a request to you, collect the request, okay, and return all the parameters that are there. And what are the parameters there? What are the inputs there? The inputs include the email inputs and the password input. So it's going to send it to this controller and to this method. So we'll be able to get this guy right here. Okay, and that it has just done. The CSRA that I sent, this is the token. So this will always change every time you access that page, and then you have the email and the password. So now what we'll do is we need to validate our form. And what does that mean? It means we want to be sure that what do we expect people to send from the front end? We're expecting them to send an email. What if they are not sending an email? They are adding some extra stuff to it that does not validate the input as an email. What do? You must be able to handle all of those cases, right? And then the password, you want to, how many lengths character do you want them to be able to enter? Is it required? We have to just check some of those things. And so to do that, we come here and then collect the request. Let's say, okay, before we start doing that, so we just say request validate. Okay, so what we are telling Laravel is we want to be able to validate our details. We want to be able to validate whatever the user enters. So if I say validate and I say what is the name of the parameter here, the input here, the name is email, as you can see. So, and then here the name is password. So that is what I'm going to be using there. And I say email, what should happen? I can either do it like this and separate it with pipe character, or I use an array. Okay, so if I'm using an array, I can specify that let it be required. Okay, let it be required. It must be an email. Laravel has that. Okay. What else do I want? Maybe I want it to be, or let's just still keep it at that. It must be an email. So it means if someone enters something that is not an email, it must be able to show an error. Okay. So what else do we have? You can see that this is basically an array. If you remember how to define an array. So it's an array. We just have other arrays, you can see. So what is an associative array, or it's multidimensional? That's what it means. But don't let me confuse you with that. What that simply means, it is an array that has name, right? We give it a name, it's not just there. And then one of the value of this one, for example, now is also another array. That's what that means. So you have an array inside an array. That's what it means. So it's just as simple as what you see. So we have password. So then you want to specify that the password should be required. And maybe let's leave it at that. I will give you a list, a short list of words and what you can pass in there. So what you want to say is, if that works well, everything goes well, then you want to say return. Let's remove this. You want to say return request, no, response, sorry. Response, let's say back. Let's say back for now. Okay, so what this will do is it will send, so what that is supposed to do is to return you to the page that you were going. We are going to, return you to the page that we were coming from. Okay, so let's say let me use back. If you use back, yeah, if you use back, it should work. Okay, so it should return you to the page you are coming from. But that is not the end game. The end game is to be able to see the details. But let's test this first. So that's we go through that journey process. If I say yeah, and then stuff here. Right. So this takes me back to this page. What if I'm not inputting an email here and then the password? Okay, so let's remove the HTML validation. I think there's an HTML validation right there. Yeah, so the message that just popped up there is because we added this. So let's remove this. Let's remove this. Because apart from the front-end validation that you do, you should be able to handle validation in the backend as well. So if I refresh this and then I put some push there and then okay, it is still validating. It is validating because here we specify it as an email. So let's change this to the type. Okay. Then we'll come here and then we put whatever. Okay, so we didn't specify image. It has cut the message, it has cut the validation, but then we didn't ask it to display any message, but this worked. That's what it means. It returned us to that page. Okay, so what we are going to do now is we want to be able to see the message or whatever message or error that has been caught by Laravel. Okay, so let's come here and say something like let's copy. So we want to specify the errors that we expect to see. Okay. Have that. So just a minute. Okay, I can't find it. But let's say we have email. So then we specify one of the stuff that we have in here. Let's say email dot required. Right? What we are saying is what message should it display? Email is required. Okay, then let's say we want to specify that. It means we are saying if it encounters this issue, which is the person did not enter anything in the email, so the email input is empty, what should it do? It should return this message. That's what that means. So let's write for this. So to write for that, we are going to say if email in that case. So email is the name of the stuff. So we are calling this that if it encounters an issue that this it's not email that is imputed, then it should through an error. So email must be valid. Let's just say something like that. Okay. Then we want to say for password, if password is required. That is, if it encountered this error, then it should show this password is required. I already had those highlights in the article, so I was trying to get it. So let's see now. So that you did this now does not mean that it will automatically show here. You will have to put a way to catch it and display it at the front end. So let me check. Yeah, so I found this so that I don't need to make things faster. So if I come here now and I put this guy, let me create more space so that we'll see what I'm pasting there. Yeah. So look at this. So this is saying that if, you know the way we write our if normally in PHP, right? We just say if, blah, 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 and then open a bracket. And so, but in Blade, if you are writing an if statement inside Blade template, you do it this way, right? Say at if, and then you specify whatever condition you want to specify within that bracket, and then you put whatever. So this code, this HTML will only run if this condition is met. That's what it means. So if I remove it, it will always show these elements here. Okay. So of course these classes are not available. Don't worry about the classes. And so we are saying for each error that it encounters, if there is any error, then it should display it. But in that case, if we are doing that, I would need to back with errors, and then yeah, I will need to back with errors. And if I do this, yeah, so what this will do is it's going to run a loop statement for each statement. I'm not sure if you've touched that, or maybe you've done it in one of the classes. It's going to loop through the errors that we have here, okay, and then it will display each of them in this element. All right. So when you come here and we refresh it, and then we put, okay. So can you see what happens? Because this guy was empty, or maybe did we say, yeah, it was not empty, but it was not a valid email. And in our controller, what we told it to do is, if it encountered an input that is not an email, we should throw this guy. So this passed, that is why I didn't throw this, but this did not pass. That's why I threw it. Okay. So let's say I'm not entering anything in it now, and I send it. Can you see? So it is displaying the 2 for me. It is displaying the errors encountered. So it encountered this, and then it encountered this. Okay. So what did I do there? Password was supposed to password required, password. Okay, let's still leave that for now. Let's leave that. Yeah, I think it's displaying the email is required, but then yeah. So for an element, for an input, right? You can see that this is an input, this is another input. But it's just that we have different validations for each. We have like 2 validations for this input. So once it encounters 1 for this input, it leaves it out, goes to the next one, and then picks the validation message for it. That's what you see in right there. Okay, so this is basically how to handle validation within your controller. Okay, so I can take this out. If I take this out, and then I probably want to put it inside a different method, I can say this can say validate request, so that we don't overwrite that validate method. So, right. So now this is throwing an error because we have not. So let's type it. Yeah, then we say request. Okay. So we can use, let's say, validate. Okay. So now this validate, you can call it in here and say this. So this means this that we're putting here means we are calling the same class, the same instance of that class, the same object that is created for that purpose of logging. Okay, that within this object, within this instance of the login controller class, call the validate method that's there. Okay, and then we are going to pass the request, this request. So you're going to call this guy, right, and pass this as an argument to that method. So that will then call the validate method that is on this request. So it means that this is a class. You remember that this is a class. I said it, right? We are only injecting it into that method, into this class. So we are using this method. Don't let me confuse us a bit. I mean, that can be a little confusing. I don't want to confuse. So see that I've changed the name. So it doesn't matter what name. So you won't be confusing which validate is which. So validate request, we are calling this guy here and then we're passing it. So this will still work. That's what it means. So anytime you see that it's still working. Okay. So that is how to handle your request. So for all your inputs, the inputs on your form, think of whatever you want to do. What validation do you want to do for it? So in Laravel, I have a list, some stuff here. In Laravel, let me just quickly list them out as I have them. So I will put a comment here and then list them out. So we'll have required, like you see that I already used. We have required. That's what I'm using here. We have email. That's what I'm using there. We have numeric. We want to make sure that the input from the user is numeric. Okay. So we have max. So you can specify the maximum length of characters. So if I come here now and I say max, right, and I put a column here and put the amount, if I say just 10 characters. So I don't want your email to be more than 10. Whatever you want to have gmail.com at, and everything must be 10. That's what it means. So, and then minimum, if I say minimum, mean, and I say you cannot input less than, let's say 6. You cannot input less than 6 characters, or you cannot input less than more than 10 characters. That's what this means. And then we have unique. We could use unique as well. So we have max, we have min, we could use unique. So these are the basic ones, the common ones that you will use. And this unique, you specify the name of the table, let's say the user table, what field, email. You are saying that whatever they pass inside this as the email, it must be unique on the database table. That's what you are telling it. You know, we have on our database, we have email field, right? And the name of the table is users. So you are saying that if I say unique, I say unique and I put a column like this, I say users. Saying on the users table, there is a field called email. Check within that field called email if whatever the person passed as the input is already existing. It means it's not unique, then throw an error. So you can specify the error message right here, just the way we are doing here now. You can specify it, you can just copy everything and then you put that in here. But because we don't have any details right now, so we don't want to do that. So, but then just know that these are the common ones that we use often. common ones. So you can always search as you proceed or progress. You will get to know more validation procedures or methods that you will need, so you will be able to just see the usage and add it here. Okay, so you can do the same for the password as well. So all you just need to do in this case is come and specify what message you want the user to see. For example, if I put this here, now, I expect that sorry, maximum email account, maximum email characters allowed is 10, something like this. And we come here, and then we try to enter this, which is definitely more than 10. So it will pass this thing, but it should fail that the email field must not be greater than. Okay, yeah. So in this case now, it is giving us wait, let me see. It's giving us a default. No, I think it's mail. I think it's this here. So this should override that default message. What it gave here, because I didn't define it well, what it gave here is the default message that Laravel specified. Okay, so let me see if everything is fine, all things being equal. That should, I think there's still an issue. I guess it's new marks. That, yeah, maximum email characters allowed. So you can see that I've been able to overwrite the default message that Laravel provides. So see, there's no, you don't have to cram these things. All you just need is get the syntax, right? We are defining two arrays here. So I can be very creative about this. If I need to structure my application in a very neat way that it's highly maintainable, there are ways that I could do this and it will make more sense. I'm going to show us another way to handle requests dynamically, right? So for this, this is working. Okay, so what happens if everything goes well, that there is no issue? So we can back with we can redirect somewhere. Okay, so if everything is okay, everything passed right, we can say if email, for example, I say if email here is the input that is passed into the same email that we are using here. We are saying if the email exists and everything is normal or it's okay, then let it redirect. Let it redirect to redirect intended. I think that should work. So our intended now will be another view. Let's create a different view so that we can get the idea. We're going to create another view here, and I will say maybe we want the person to be able to access the dashboard. Say dashboard display. I've just been teaching. I don't know if people are hearing me. Please, can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? You've been following. Please, can you show some reaction if you have been hearing me? Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
All right, okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So now let me say HTML, and then I come here and I say page 1, welcome. Adebayo. Yeah, so this is our dashboard that I want the user to have access to after a successful login. So I'm going to say intended. Now, the intended is supposed to be a route, but because I don't have a route for that, so I will have to create a route for it. So I can come here and say route, get dashboard. Dashboard, yeah. So I can say, in this case, let's just use the same controller. Okay, we are not supposed to use the same controller, but just for the purpose of showing us this, I'm going to use the same controller, and then I will say dashboard. Okay, but if I don't, let's go ahead so that we don't waste much time. Now I'm going to call it, name it, and give it dashboard. Okay, so this now, if I come here and say dashboard, right? So let me test this. Let's see that we have saved all that here. So if I come here now and input, let me remove that validation that I put there. Let's put that 100. Okay. So if I come here and input password and I log in, there's still an issue. Okay, let's take this out first. And then okay. Because this you enter here because that email exists. Okay, I mean it will pass. So let's check. So it's attempting to access that page. Attempting, but because I didn't specify the method here, okay, so let me specify the method. Let me declare the method here. And then here I will just put dashboard. And then I save it. So this method now exists. So what it will do is it will direct to this, right? And then this will now in turn call this method. Okay. So let's come back there, save back, then send, and you see what command back. So that is how login for validation error works. Okay. So quickly, without wasting time, we are going to be doing something simple. And yeah, so thank you guys. So we are going to be doing something simple in terms of authentication. So we want to do a proper authentication now. I would want us to do it manually, and I would also want us to do it using Laravel Breeze. Okay, so Laravel Breeze is a library, a package, so to speak, that you can install in Laravel that will create all the views or whatever boiler code that you need for your authentication screen, right? So instead of having to do those things manually yourself, it automatically just gives you stuff, and you can now override some of the methods, the change and all that. So that makes your work a lot faster. But let's do it in the native way first. Okay. So what we are going to be doing now is we want to do a proper login, and that since we have validated our stuff here, what I will do is I will take this guy away from here and I will put it inside a request. Okay. I'm going to create a request for this, right? And I'm going to be passing it into this. I hope we easily get that, and then we'll see how we handle things like this. Is there any question from anybody? I don't know if I'm the only one, but I can't see the screen. Oh, you can't see the screen? That is strange. Can anybody see the screen? Can someone show a reaction if you can see the screen? You can see the screen, okay, okay. So if you all can see the screen, then it it's probably maybe you just want to quickly drop off and join back. Do you get? If you can drop off and join back. So yeah, if you quickly do that, then you'll be able to catch us and to catch up where we currently are. So yes, we are going to be, where we stop is we are going to be creating a request file. So how we do that is we want to say PHP request, okay, make request, and then you want to specify the name of the request. Since it's going to be a login request, we want to say login request. Okay, so I'm going to press enter. So what you will see happen is it would have created a file in the app HTTP request, and then we have this guy. So it is inside this guy that will declare our validations. Okay, so we declare our validations here. Validation rules will be here. So what I will do is come here and move this guy into that file. Okay, we'll move this guy into this file. And I think we can specify the messages as well. And just say messages. Okay, and here we can on an array as well and give and then put all these guys in there. So you can see that we have a separate file. Now we now have a separate file that handles so we now have a separate guy that handles this thing for us. Okay, let's take it on. Yeah. Yeah. Trying to see what we have gone wrong. That's brought the error. I mean, the error is no longer there. So sometimes VS Code can be that problem, or maybe we are doing something that we've not been able to figure out. It's not supposed to be an issue. Yeah, okay. So we just need to write the proper error. Okay, so yeah, that is that. So we have our rules in here, and then we have our messages here. Okay, so it's now safe to remove this guy completely from here. Okay, so we don't need this guy anymore. What we'll now do is we'll need to bring in the login request, right? We need to bring in the login request. So what we have left is, instead of using this directly here, we are already using it in here. Okay, it's already in here. So what we'll do is we'll bring it in and call it what we are. Yeah, so do you see? So this request has been type-inted to use this. Okay, so we'll be using our new request file, not the normal HTTP request anymore. It's no longer using this because this is new. So that is that. And now what we'll do is we want to now continue to handle our form validation. There's something we call auth. Let me just use this to avoid confusion. So there's auth. So this auth facade now is going to handle the checking of the DB, for whether or not that either exists or whatever credentials that you pass in there exist. Okay. So if it does not exist, it will attempt to throw an error for you. But if it does, it will validate it, and whatever you pass within that closure, it will run those code. Okay. So what we are going to do, let me just get where I've used it here without wasting much time. Without wasting much time. Yeah, so we have this right here. We have this right here. So I'll just bring this in here instead of having to type everything at once. Yeah. So what this is doing, let me import it, because if you use a particular method or class rather, and you don't import it, it will show this red sign for you. So if you press Control space, press down Control and space, whether you are using Mac or Windows, it's Control and space. So it should bring this suggestion for you. Then you'll be able to see which one you are using. So this auth should be an illuminate support facade. Okay. So when you bring it in, be sure that this method exists in that class. So you will see that offer. So what this is saying is that it will attempt to use the attempt method, right, to check if this email exists in the database and it is exactly what you are passing. Okay. And if the password also exists. So what it will do is try to hash it and do the comparison. But you don't need to see all of that. All you need to use is the attempt method on the auth facade. Okay. So when we do this and it's made it into, if this condition passes and made it into this closure right here, right, then it will attempt to generate a session for you. Okay, so the request, you are calling the same request, you are calling the session method on that request, and then you are asking it to regenerate. This method exists, so don't bother about them. Right? For now, don't bother about them. There is a way I can override those methods if I need to tweak some things. Even this attempt, there's a way I can override it if I need to tweak things. But most of the time, you don't need to tweak anything. You are using the session login procedures. So this will suffice for you at the moment. Okay. So just pass it like this, and then you already know what it's attempting to check against. So it's checking against the unresponsive. So it will attempt to it will attempt to use this email, check your email in this, check it in check the password against this password field as well. So then generate it and then redirect you to the intended URL. Okay, so that is that. And if we do this, all things being equal, everything should be okay. Okay, so let me see. Yeah, that's it. No extra thing is needed there, right? So now let's run this. If we come here and we go back and put our password, yeah. So this action is unauthorized. So it's not. Let me see. It means that this action is unauthorized. So the number one, I can tell that it's not going to work because we don't have data in our DB at all. There's no data. So it means we might need to create register data, how to input our stuff. So but let's quickly see if we can do that. I really want us to use Breeze today. So but then let's create a register Create a register. So let's say so what I will do is I'm going to create a new controller and then I'll call it register. Say register controller. Right, so now I'm going to come here, specify so I will say I will use create here, and then I'm going to return a form page, a view. That view does not exist yet, so I'm just going to name it register. Right, so I'll come to my route, to my view, choose under resource, resources, views, and then I will create my register right here. Start at PHP, and here I will say HTML. I will see if I can get something already existing here. Register. So let's use that same form. Let's just use that same form. So let's use this form here to achieve it. Right, so let's say H2, and then let's say register, and then let's paste this right here. So in this case now, it's going to be a post register. Okay. So you are going to, what are you going to include? So you are going to have, let's see what we have inside here. So we have name, email, password. Those are the key things that are important here. So let's just go and include name. So you input your name. So let the name, right? Name, email, password. Yeah, this is okay. So if we go and create a route for this now, and that route is going to be named post.register. Don't forget. Yeah, so this, and so we can say, then put register here. Okay, and we're going to say post of register. Okay, so now if I let's change the controller is not logging. So in this case, it's going to be register. So you can see, even though the name is correct, but it's not here, it has not been imported here. So we have to leave it. We'll just say, yeah, import it. So the name is going to be create. So this create now will be displaying that form. So if we try to view it, go back, take a different. And let's try it. Register. Okay, so good. So it means that we can now impute. So we want to be able to create that account. So to create it, so we are going to use another method. That method we call it store, because this involves that we insert some data into the database. So we have our request because we didn't create a special request file for this one. So we are just going to use the request. You already have an idea of how you can validate. So please, when you are trying your own out, try to create a new file and then try to validate it using that request file. Right. So what are we trying to do here? We want to save whatever we bring from that page. Okay. So I'm just going to say validated. So you want to make sure that you validate your you cannot use validated because you don't have that file here yet. So we are going to say validate. In this case, let me just use all because I don't want to start doing the same thing that we did there all over. Okay, so let's say validated, saving that, and now we are going to use our user model, right? You know, you must be a little familiar with it since you did something like that in the CRUD session like the last week. So user model, we are now going to create that user, create an account for that user. What this will do is create an instance of that class and attempt to, to persist the data into the database, right? So we are going to say create. Going to say create, and we'll pass validated. So this validated, this stuff here is going to be returned an array. So this will be an array. So we are passing an array into this create method. So let's bring it in. It is showing red because we have not used it here, imported it. So I'm going to make sure that we are importing it. So it is here now. Okay. So if you have any question, please just quickly bring it up. I don't mean to confuse you. Ask me any question if you have. So we use that. So we expect that this will work. Okay. So what we are just going to do is we can say if, that is, if this works, then what should happen? It should return redirect. Or instead of redirecting, let's say back. It should back. It should back with the message called success and say user count created success. Okay, so yeah, so we are backing with that message. Okay, so now let's so we are supposed to return it back with an error if it did not work. So we can say back with errors actually. So then we can specify whatever we want to pass in there. Okay, but in this case now, let's just leave it this way. This should suffice. Pass errors. Let's leave it this way. So you can either pass an array or you pass a string. Okay. So now our main focus, the reason why we came here is because we want to get some data into that place so that we can then test our login process. So let's see this now. So now we'll come to the route. Don't forget the route, then the controller. So it must exist. Okay. So this is going to be displaying the form, right? Yeah. So then let's bring this down here. Okay, because this would definitely be unprotected. We are not going to do much into that right now. So register Then we need the post request, that we receive the request and try to use it. Sorry. Yeah, so this would be a post, and then this would be a get, right there, and then this would be store. Okay, so we must be sure what we are entering, because if there's any mistake, okay. So let's check our views and our blade and see that we are calling the right. Okay, so if we come here now and we say Adebayo Olukunle this, and then I just put let me say password. Let's say that's my password. And then I input it. If I come here, because it's not showing that message because I didn't display or add an input to get that message. I didn't bother doing that. That's why it's probably not showing. So, but let's see whether it's created the account. And you see, it has created that account for me. So you see my name here, you see the email, you see the password in the database, and then you have the created hat and the updated hat. Okay, so that is that. I hope we are still getting along. If there's any question, please ask me. So now that we have a record in here, we want to be able to log in. Okay, so if I put something here now, all things being equal. Now I just put anything here. I didn't. This action is authorized. Let me see why it's saying that this action is unauthorized. This action is unauthorized. Turned email. Oh yeah. The reason it must be saying that is because of this our request. Okay. So if we come into our request, you will see that we are not authorizing to use the request. So please, when you create a request file, make sure you are authorizing it, because you can specify some logics here to check the access level of the person. Right. So authorization is different from authentication. That's what it means. So authorization specifies the level of authority that you have. If you are the admin, you can do some logic here to minimize or specify some ways of handling. There's this term that we use, can use that in the blade and all over the places. There are different ways of handling things anyways. So yeah, you can restrict access here and restrict authorities. If this one is a finance person, they're not supposed to be able to have access to the resources of the admin person. So you can do some of those stuff here, right? So now I'm going to make this true. If I make this true now, we should be able to pass through this request and then send the request to the controller. So don't forget, from the blade to the route tries to send it to the controller, but this intercepts it and gets the request you get. And then if it passes, then it goes to the controller. So now if I go back and I refresh and I do this, and then I put just anything right there. So yeah, it's working right now. It's returning me to the page. But now if I put my password there, then I send it. Can you see that it's worked? So it's working because I'm using the password that is here. Okay, it's working because I'm using the password that is here. So if I don't use that password, you can see that it's not bringing me to that page. Okay, so even though we expect that it should be displaying that error, but I don't want to dwell too much on that because I really want us to touch the jet stream. So the breeze rather. So once we do that, then we can now try to compare that with this quickly. So now that we can see that we've seen that we can create our stuff here. Okay, you can see that we can create our account here. If I enter someone else's name now, say Olaide and then I say, oh, let me just use this, and then put password, and then I send this. Our page expire. So that is that stuff that I was telling you. You will have to make sure that you refresh your page so that it generates another CSRF. Then I want to use this, and then password. Yeah, so this has created now. Okay. Cool. So that is, then I can now use this account so now let's quickly look at that stuff, that login again. This login now, okay, is sending here. What we can do is inside our dashboard, if we say, where is the, yeah, so we have our dashboard here. So we can pass a data and get the authenticated person and say that user is equal to, who is that person? Is the person authorized? We can say request hash. So we can say authenticated person, or we say user. This will also work. So I said there are different ways of doing the same thing. So what we are saying is, she gets the authentication, the user that has successfully authenticated and have access to this dashboard. We want to get their model. So this is the model of that user, and we want to pass that model to the view. So let's say I want to pass the name. So I can say compact user. Okay. Remember that I said you can do it like this, or you do it like this. User, and we call this variable right here. So this is the same thing as this. Okay, so don't get confused. So if I pass this inside now, and I go to dashboard, I can now change this guy and say, this is echo. Then I can say user. The reason why I can use user here is because I pass that user. I pass it inside the controller. So if this is user 2, or let's say not even user logged in user. Maybe I change this variable to logged in user. Then it means it's logged in user that I put in here. Okay, so that's what that means. Let me do it so that you can see. Then I'll come here, and then you say logged in user variable name. That is one of the, name is a field in the database, so that I'm calling this person's name because I want it displayed here. Dash name, so that when the person logs in. So let's come here, refresh, then let me say password, and then you see it's displaying the name of the authenticated person. So let me use this person's name now. Let me log in as that person. So I say go out, and then I think I use password 1. Page expires, so I need to refresh it. It has to be refreshed because of that CSRF thing. So then I say password 1. And you see, Adeboayo. So I hope we got that clear. I hope that is clear enough. We see how authentication works and what is doing that code, right? What the code that is doing that whole thing is in here. It's in here, right? It's going to attempt to check the email and the password field and compare it with whatever we are sending. Okay, and if it's the same, it matches, then it will generate a session and return, direct it to any page or any route that we have specified right here. It's as simple as that. Now, quickly, let's look at how we can use Breeze to do this same thing. Let's look at how we can use Breeze Like I said, Breeze is that package that gives you that works when you install it into Laravel. It works with your whatever choice of front end framework that you choose, right? Or the templating engine. The template will always be Blade. But you could use Vue. If you are using Vue at the front end, you can install Vue and use it with Breeze. If you are using React, you could install React in your Laravel application. But don't bother about those ones. I'm just going to use Breeze and maybe Livewire. That is a front end that I'll just use PHP to handle the reactive nature of the front end elements, the DOM manipulation, and those things using PHP alone. That's Livewire. So I'm going to use Breeze now and Livewire. And how to do that is quite easy and fast. You will see what I'm saying now. So if I go to my terminal, right? But before I do that, let me ask question. Is there any question on what I've done so far? Before I move to using Breeze, do you have any question? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Please, I have issue connecting my Laravel with XAMPP together. Please, can you just show us a brief stuff on how to do that?
What OS are you using?
I'm using Windows.
Okay, if you are using Windows, you want to open XAMPP and start the Apache on MySQL. So have you opened XAMPP?
Yes, I've tried it before, but it's not working.
And is it installed?
Yes, it is installed. It is installed.
Okay, please share your screen. There is no point moving to Breeze if you are not getting that.
I don't have Light on my PC now.
Okay.
But I will just tell you the step I did. So when I opened my XAMPP, I did first two stuff. There are some list of Visile and some other, but the first two I started. That is Apache, and the second one I've forgotten. So I found it, and I named the name of my database related to the one in my Laravel code. So after that,
did you create the database?
Yes.
In PHP MyAdmin, did you create the database?
Yes. So and I run this code PHP artisan migrate after some code, but I don't know why it's not linking up together. Maybe you can just short recap, sir.
Okay, no problem. So this is what you do. Look at what I'm doing right here, because I'm also using XAMPP right now. You can see that I'm starting my SQL database, right? So I'm using Mac, so I'm starting Apache. So this is so while this is running, right? While these are running, I will go to, if I go to localhost, like this, which you can also do from your end, you will see PHP MyAdmin. If you just click on PHP MyAdmin, it will take you into the database. Make sure that you click on database, and you create your database. Okay, when you create your database, for example, and then you make sure whichever this thing you use should work, but Laravel uses this. So use this Unicode and create it. Okay, once you have created it, then you go to your env within your application. Make sure that you change whatever is here. Database connection must be MySQL, because that's the database connection you want to use, not SQLite, not SQLite, not that one. MySQL. Make sure that is what you are putting here. This is what you enter here. Okay, this is the default localhost because it resides on your laptop. And then this is the port. Then the database name that you specified here when creating the database, right? You will put it here. Put root there. The root is the general default password username. And then because you didn't set any password, there's a way you can set password. for this page. So you leave password empty. Okay. When you do that and you try to save it and run your PHP Artisan migrate, it will work. Did you edit the env file at all?
Yes, but first of all, I first do this in MySQL, but later I changed it to SQLite.
No.
Maybe that was a mistake.
Yeah.
And the
But
database name that was here, that's what I put
that's what
inside
you
my.
do. The next time you come with your laptop and you have live, you have power on it, so you can just see
Okay.
your screen like that. And
Okay.
just make sure that your MySQL and Apache are running. Okay.
Also,
So yeah. So to show us how Breeze works, right? Breeze, you need to install Breeze, right? And then let me send us a command to use. So install Breeze. Yeah, so this is it. This is the command right here. So this is what you use. This guy. So I'm going to say install, let me clear it and then say install Breeze. It's going to attempt to install Breeze for me. So you wait for it. Okay. You wait for it. It's generating files. Okay, good. Now it's done. What we'll now do is we'll run PHP Artisan Breeze install. Okay, that is this. We'll run this. So it's going to ask a few questions. Which Breeze stack would you like to use? Like I said, that Breeze will work with the template engine, and whatever front-end framework that you choose. Alpine too is a front-end framework, right? And like I said, Livewire uses PHP. So what I would do is, let's say I'm using Livewire both class API with Alpine, something like that. So then I press yes. Says, would you like dark mode support? I say no. Yeah. So I say yes. So wait for it to complete. Wait for it to complete. installation. I've chosen PHP unit for that testing, because that will be much faster. Choose test. You have to install it. Install the files. Some of these methods that you see us using, don't worry. By the time we create, we are going to create when you've known the very basic things that you are supposed to know in Laravel. We'll create a project, right? Like we already started with what the other facilitator taught you, so we can just carry on with that and probably show you some of these best practices. So you will see us use the same approach that we have taught you. That's what you will see what that will give you. That's what you see them use anyway. And you know, PHP is very popular in the world of web development. It is very, very, very popular. You know, a lot of people still use it. A lot of people still use it to power their websites, power their applications, and all that. So, and Laravel is one of the leading framework, one of the leading frameworks used for PHP development. So you have no worries at all. It is still very much acceptable. So what you are learning now is valid. Trust me, it's valid. So yeah, so we've successfully installed Laravel Breeze, live wire, scaffolded on the application. So now what we need to do is to start our server. So we have to start the development server for the front end and as well the back end, because that's what we are trying to do right here. We are now using, you know, some front end framework together with Laravel. So what I will do is, so we have this server running. You know that this is the backend server, which is you can run through. I ran with PHP sans serve. Now I'm going to use this npm install. I will first you do npm install. So that will install the packages that are here. It has installed the packages that are required. Then I will now do so the first thing you will do is npm install. So next time you want to do, you don't need to do an npm install anymore. Okay, then you now do npm install. So when next I want to start the server now, I don't need to do npm install anymore. Just npm run. So this is the front end side of my application, right? Which is running with Vite, and this is the back end. So what I will do is try to access this guy now. But before I do that, so that there won't be conflict, let me try to yeah. So you can see where I just wanted to come there and change those stuff and try to comment out those stuff that I did there. But you can see that it has overwritten them already. So it has overwritten those files. So now if I go and access my file, and I say login. And you see it's saying, because that person is already logged in, saying they are logged in. Can you see the dashboard, the nice dashboard that is showing us now? They are logged in. So it has created some nice stuff for us, so we can carry on from here to develop our. So I can now say log out. If I say log out now, it will log the person out. So it's taking me to that welcome page. I can decide to go and change that welcome page to something else. That welcome. If I go and change the design on that welcome page, this welcome page, then that will look more like whatever I want it to be. And if a user wants to log in, so you can see that we now have the login and register link. If I say login, you see what we have. So if I say my password, my email, and then password, let me put a wrong. So I imputed a wrong password now. Look at what it's telling me. The credentials do not match our records. So it has simply just created a nice stuff for me, which I can always edit. I can always overwrite any of those methods or functions. So yeah, this is what we'll be using going forward to build whatever we want to build, and we can leverage Breeze. So now let me input the right password. This password, can you see? It has logged me in. And you can also see that it's using the same database that I created. It's using that same database. Techhaven up here. Let's see. So it's not, there's nothing serious in it. And what did I have to do? I just installed it, and that was it. So I can register. So if you want to register now, you can just say log out. Let me log out. And then you say register. It's coming in here now to say, what is your name? I say Habib. Email Habib at gmail.com. Then I say password is password. Then I say register. So now it logs me in straight up, just because after creating this, it logged me in. So we have this, and it's in fact, it makes your development quite fast. And you can see the controllers are here inside the auth controller. So which you can always override. Can you see? It created all its controllers inside the auth folder. So you can see the way it's handling its login. You see? No, no, that's not it. That's the one we did before. So yeah, so this is its own. So it has its all its code that it uses from within the packages. You know, there are ways to override that. It just makes your development quite easy. Makes it quite easy. So that is that. I hope we got it. And do we have any question? Any question from anyone? You can always go over this video to check what we have done, you know, and try to see how you can replicate the whole process. If you have any question, you can drop it for us at the page. All right, go ahead, Habib.
The question I want to ask is that LiveWire,
Yeah.
it says to integrate with our front end. And you mentioned some framework like a Vue or Vue for Blade. What about someone that is using React?
Yes, you can use React. You can install. You can use React with it. There is the same way you run the Laravel Breeze command. Let me just show you. If you want to use React with it, you will just come here and put a flag to install. So when you are installed, you know we installed Laravel Breeze just now.
Yes.
Let me open a new tab for you so that I can show you. We installed it. So what we did basically was HPS Breeze installed. So the flag we are passing now is --React. We are going to use React. So what it will do, this will do is to create the files for you to start your to be able to write your React files within resources JS. Let me see. So it's going to be here. So you are going to be writing all your React files or whatever here. You will write them here. Do you get what I mean? So,
Yes,
but because we are not teaching React, we are not teaching even that Breeze. We just wanted to show you how you can use it to authenticate your users very quickly. You don't need to do any other thing. You can see that I just installed it and we have our page. And then
what about the LiveWire? Is it the same thing as Breeze too?
no. LiveWire it uses PHP, just PHP to handle the front end React. So the way React will do those things for you, the way Vue will manipulate the DOM for you, create this virtual DOM manipulation, blah blah blah. LiveWire will handle the DOM using PHP. It's not directly handling the DOM by itself. It's still using HTML, but the reactivity side of things, maybe calling of data, it's going to do some dirty works behind the scene for you, such that it will look like it's using Ajax to fetch data from the back end for you, but then it will be using PHP to handle the reactivity in itself. Do you get? So it's not like React exactly. It's a PHP-based front-end framework that allows you to manipulate or make your elements dynamic. Do you get what I mean? So by the time don't worry, I know we have done a lot today, right? And there's not much time for us to begin to try out LiveWire or try out any other thing. You will see the way you can, without you having to reload, you can use LiveWire to fetch data from the backend and then you show it inside maybe a drop-down menu, or you just change, like that welcome that we did now. This welcome that this you are logged in. You can decide to change it without having to reload this page. LiveWire can do that. So it works with Alpine to give you that capability. And of course, you can do that using React and Vue.js as well. So you have the choice of either using React, using Vue.js, or using LiveWire with Alpine. Do you get what I mean? But those are separate frameworks that we cannot directly begin to teach now and deviate away from Laravel itself. Do you get? So, but by the time we go ahead and we touch other topics, we can see if we need to touch LiveWire, then we will explain how LiveWire works and how you can make good use of it. Do you understand? So we don't want it to be too complex like now saying, okay, we want to start introducing LiveWire or introducing React or Vue.js or Alpine. That's what that confuse people that don't have. So we want to restrict it to Laravel, but show you how you can use some specific framework to build quick stuff that you could have done yourself with Laravel. You get what I mean?
I understand.
Yeah. So that's why we are not delving deeper into that. So any other question from anyone? Yeah, so the beauty of what you are doing is to go home and practice it. But the more you practice, the more you understand what happens with the codes that you write. So no big deal at all. No big deal at all. Go over the video, and I also drop the article for you so that you can also see codes to copy. If you don't want to write it, you copy and then you check it line by line. You'll be able to see if you need to write them out just so that you can further internalize them. That's also perfect. So there's no other question. I think we spent extra 10 minutes from our time already. There's no other question. What do you do from here? Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. Have a great day. So over to you, guys.
Thank you so much, Adebayo, and thank you all for joining. We'll meet again same time next week, and please do have a good week ahead. Bye.